We stand here right now at a time when we're connected in increasingly expanding ways. We hear about stories from every corner of the world. We see ourselves in these stories. We see our families. We are these stories, and they are no longer from far, far away. My story is that I moved to Vietnam as an architect of buildings, and I left Vietnam as an architect of social change. I started my early career as an architect at Gensler, actually right here in LA, and I was doing incredible designs, and even though many people are passionate about doing these incredibly mega structures of glass and steel, the medium just didn't speak to me. So I left Gensler, and I went traveling for a year over a dozen countries in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe and in Asia. And I fell in love with Southeast Asia. So I moved to Hanoi, and I had the opportunity to work there and renovate old French villas for companies such as Chase Manhattan and Price Waterhouse. So in 1995 in Hanoi, I witnessed firsthand a transaction where a young girl was being sold by her father to a European man for sex. She was 6 years old. I tried to intervene, and I was threatened at knife point. But what truly happened that night moved me. Yeah. What happened that night truly moved me, grabbed me, and wouldn't let me go. So I had a striking realization that night as I sat in the hotel room shaken. I started to look at human trafficking as a marketplace, where unfortunately the commodity is a human being. So as I started to look at the core of it, it was just an economic mechanism. And so I decided I had to play a role in making a difference in preventing human trafficking. And when I made that decision, I felt so much strength, clarity, and resolve. So when you look at social issues, it also often gets stuck at the level of our visceral reaction. And when somebody just responds to the emotional aspect of it, we don't see clearly the structure of what's really happening behind it. And so we have to bring our clarity as well. So we have to redefine the problem. And for me, redefining human trafficking, I had to see clearly that there was an alternative economic engine that I could potentially create. So I started to research human trafficking. I learned that prevention was key because the traumatizing effects are devastating. I learned that urban migration trends are important as well because when people move from the village to the city, they're especially vulnerable at that juncture. I learned that artisans are at risk of falling into human trafficking because many of them are paid below poverty level. So I traveled to the marketplaces in the villages. So I'm in a village marketplace, and there are vendors of every kind selling their wares. I see the chickens around me, and I see the barrels of the fish from the Mekong, and I see colors of yellow and gold and red of the spices. It's all around me. And I see a section of the marketplace that is full of textiles, sarongs, and scarves of every color and every texture, smooth and silky and thick with rough weave. And I decide I have to just, oh my gosh, I have to learn about this. I need to know everything about it. I immediately want to know about the process and the designs and the people that are doing this amazing work. So I asked the vendor all about them, and she says, I'll take you tomorrow to the weaving villages. There are whole weaving villages in Southeast Asia where the communities are organized around weaving. I meet the weavers, and I see them pulling down and the clacking of the looms as they pull down on the threads. I see the spinning wheels, and my mind begins to spin because their artistry is unbelievable. And because of what I've learned in my research with human trafficking, I'm concerned for their safety. So when we look at social issues differently, structurally, we have to be disruptive entrepreneurs. And disruptive entrepreneurs are interested in meaning as well as money. They are provocateurs. They want to challenge traditional businesses with insight and tenacity. So, in 2004, I started a for-profit social venture called Lulan Artisans to prevent human trafficking by creating sustainable livelihoods. We produce and design hand-woven fabrics. We work with over 650 weavers, dyers, spinners in Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, and India, some of the countries with the highest rates of human trafficking. I want to show you some of the work on the loom and in the home. And also, I have samples that is Grace back from her wardrobe change? No. Okay, can you hand these out?
Here she goes. Here comes Grace.
Oh, okay. Missed your spot. Okay, so yeah. So we use design and fabrics in order to do social change. Yeah. I just want to show you some other details and context to show you how beautiful. Okay, this is Mong. She's from Cambodia, and she's one of our weavers, and her husband works for us as well. The children get an education, and the families get a housing stipend. And we use so many different sustainable practices, it would take me hours to tell you all about them. But as you can see, the bamboo here that we're using for shade. Okay, next. We use local fibers that the families have used for generations. And I want you to look at this. This is beautiful Khmer gold silk. Have you seen anything so beautiful? This is the natural color of the silk that comes from there. Unbelievable. Thank you. We use low-impact dyes and natural dyes. It's berries. And they are like chemists. I mean, these dyers are such specialists. They know so much. I've learned so much about the lac beetle, and that's where we get the word lacquer. And that's how we, get the color red. It's unbelievable. We use different innovative models. We'll do anything. We'll use anything. This is, you'll see the bottom is of normal of what a spinning traditional thing would be out of wood, and then they use bicycle wheels on top because it made it go faster. We use rice husks that you can see there. Go ahead. And we take the ash, and the rice husk we use to boil the water for our dyes. And then we take the ash afterwards, and we sell it to the farmers who use it as fertilizer to grow flowers. I love that. Thank you. So we defer to their expertise, and we don't impose external methods. We work together. We're collaborators. Whatever makes sense to the market, we will change. Only they make their own decisions. They make their own decisions about where they want to be and what they want to do about their own destinies. So from 1995 to 2004, before I launched my company, I spent 9 years researching, advising, and building relationships. Because at the time, I couldn't start my company because there wasn't a big enough market. There wasn't this sustainable, huge market that we're starting to see. And also, I didn't have the right experience yet, and the artisans weren't having the right experience yet. So what happened is when I did launch Lulan Artisans, after reaching deep and reaching out for 9 years, the market was ready. The artisans were ready, and I was ready. I love this picture because I wanted you to see the grandmother in the corner who's teaching her family weaving and dyeing. So many people think they're building a company. I would argue that you're not. I'd argue that you are building a container of collaboration, a place where rich relationships and partnerships can flourish, a place that becomes stronger than you ever imagined. It's almost like an invitation. I mean, it is an invitation to like a really cool party. So, I want to tell you about Laura Guido Clark. This is a great story. So I'm researching textile designs at Gensler. I end up going to Gensler a lot. And I know the librarian there, and I tell him about my idea about Lulan and the mission and the objective, and he is very excited for me. And a couple hours later, he walks over and he hands me a card in this very zen way. And I look at the name of the woman, her name on the card, and I look up at him and he says, "You will want to call her. She will want to work with you, and she'll get exactly what you want to do." So I call her, and I meet with her. And I tell her about what I want to do. Now remember, this is the beginning of my company. All I have to show are my passion and my words. I have a name for the company and a vision. That is all. And so I start telling her about the weavers and the villages and the markets. I start telling her all about these things, and she says, "I'm on, man. I'm in. Let's go." And her whole face lights up, and I think, this is amazing, because Laura Guido Clark is a famous textile consultant. She works for companies like Apple, IDEO, Frog Design, Godiva, can I keep going? Toyota, Ray Anderson's Floor, and Lulan. That's how much she believed in what I was building. She is still with us today. After 5.5 years, a couple months ago, we talked about another design that we're doing, the collection, and she's still signed on. She's not an employee. She's not the only textile consultant that we use, and yet her contribution is palpable. It adds to the rich layering of all the Lulan collaborators that we have. And it's more than just about a company. It's more about the founder or the products. It's all that is possible in the collaborations that you can do. So, it's bigger than you think and it's not what you think. When you start a company, you're on a journey that takes you in places you had no idea you were going to go. So I thought my company was about artisans and design and sustainable textiles and prevention of human trafficking. What I didn't know is that it was going to be about agriculture issues, water issues, and land right issues. So everything is connected. It's all interconnected. So I'm working with one of my weaving groups, and it's at the end of the day, and a woman turns to me, Fawn, and says, it's a special holiday today, and I would like to take you to my temple. Will you come? And I said, of course, I'd love to come. So we get to the temple, and everybody's in white, and I don't understand why. So I said, Fawn, what is this holiday? So she tries to explain it to me, and it's seriously complex, because I never understood. So she walks me over to a table, a long wooden table, and she hands me this little silver shiny paper, and she says, write your loved ones' names on it, and it will bring them good fortune. And I look at her and I say immediately, is there a limit to how many pieces of paper we can have? Because I want to write so many names on so many pieces of paper. And she laughs and she smiles. She said, there's no limit. So I take lots of paper. I'm writing everybody's name down. And we give it to someone to bless and put in the stupa. And in that moment, with the white and the silver and the dusk and everything, I'm floating. I feel lightheaded and still deeply connected to her. And I know that together with our loved ones' names on those shiny pieces of paper, we have brought luck. This type of work that we're doing, this kind of work, this type of social change, it's not a career path. It's not a business path. It's a life path. So I look around the world and I see so many issues before us. And I look around this room and I see so many talented people, so many incredible individuals that can help make an indelible mark on our world. So I encourage all of you to be disruptive, to reach deep and reach out, and also to pay attention to what moves you and grabs you and won't let you go. Thank you.